Welcome back to the channel, and in this video we're going to do a quick review and unboxing of my newest lens for the Nikon Z8. Actually, this is my first lens for the Nikon Z8, and I mentioned this a little bit in the other video. If you haven't seen that, you can check that out over here or somewhere and see the full video of my unboxing of the Z8. But you can also check out the video about kind of the unboxing of all the gear that I got here recently, and a little bit of insight in that video about why I went with this lens. But I'm going to recap that just a little bit for those that are seeing just this video, and then we'll do a quick unboxing, and we'll keep this relatively short, I think. So bonus, we'll unbox the adapter too while we're at it. So I currently am a Fujifilm shooter, as I mentioned in my other videos. My workhorse lens for the Fujifilm system is the 16-55 f2.8 lens. Fantastic lens, use it for almost everything. Great focal length, very flexible. Use it on my XH2 a lot. Will use it on my XT3. Have had it for a long time. There is a new version of it that I was very tempted to check out, and if I wasn't dabbling now with Nikon, I might have actually gone a little bit deeper into getting it. Problem is that it's not available, which is, if you watch my Z8 video, you'll see is one of my pet peeves right now with Fujifilm, is camera gear actually being available for purchase. So that lens is kind of not available right now. Could have got another one of the old lenses, but again, why go backwards for a lens that's been out for a long time? The lens I have still works fine, just the rubber ring on the focus is almost unfunctional at this point, it keeps slipping off. But anyway, I really like that focal length. Wanted a zoom lens, something that provided flexibility. It's nice to have that quick ability to go from, let's say on a fashion shoot, to go from a full body image to a half body to a in tight shot without me having to move, you know. So basically you can just rack that zoom and be able to get some flexibility in that. It's also, of course, extremely helpful when shooting events, which is something I do sporadically as well. And actually have an event coming up in a couple of weeks. It's a 2-day event that I'll be covering. And be a lot of small groups, a lot of candid stuff. And I think something in that same general focus, focal length would be very helpful in that scenario. I did consider, some of you are going to say, well, why didn't you just go ahead and get the 24-70 Nikon lens, their flagship? And honestly, the biggest reason was price. I'm not in a position right now with all of my Fuji gear, as well as kind of transitioning into the Nikon system, getting a new camera body, picking up a couple of lenses. I just couldn't drop the, what is it, $2,000, $2,500, $3,000, whatever it is. That's a lot of money for a lens. I understand if you're a professional wedding photographer and you want the best of the best with the best of the best focusing, and you have the income to be able to support that through something like wedding photography, it might make total sense for you. But for me, as a hobbyist who occasionally gets paid, that it just wasn't in the cards for me. So I needed something that's somewhat equivalent, that was 90 to 95% as good as that lens. And from everything I could read, this was the lens to get. So I considered the Nikon 24-120 as kind of a workhorse lens, but that is an f4 lens. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I understand it's a phenomenal lens. I might own it in the future. But I do like having f2.8. And I have a feeling that if I would have got the f4, there would have been a lot of circumstances where I would have found myself really wanting that f2.8. So that's why, another reason I went with this lens. And then the other reason I went with this lens over the Nikon version of it, so there is a 28-75 f2.8 that Nikon makes. And from what I can tell from reading comments and reading watching various videos on YouTube, it appears that lens is a rebadged Tamron lens. But it may be the G1 version of the lens, which kind of makes sense that Tamron wants to keep the G2 version, which is what this lens is, to themselves for their selling purposes. So I don't know how much there is a difference between G1, G2. I think you can still get the G1 for Tamron as well. There's probably a price difference. It's probably a little cheaper. But this lens was pretty much the same price as the Nikon lens. And from everything I could read, like I said, it's pretty much the same lens, but just a smidge better when it comes to autofocus speed, as well as just overall image quality. So I am very curious to see when I start using this lens, how much I'm going to miss that extra 4 millimeters on the wide angle side. I also do shoot some street photography, landscapes, cityscapes, kind of a little bit of everything really. And I have a feeling I'm gonna really miss that extra little bit of wide angle on that side. I know it's only taking a step or two back, but sometimes you can't take a step or two back, whether you're limited at an event like I'm going to be shooting, or you're in a small studio space, or you're outside and a step or two backwards means you're off the cliff or standing in traffic. Sometimes you just don't have that option. So I'm sure at some point I'll probably get something a little bit wider, but for now this should serve most of my purposes and shooting needs. The last thing I'll say is that this is a nice extra boost of length because as opposed to 24 to 70, you do get a little bit extra on the long end, but that's 75 millimeter on the long end. So let's do a quick unboxing. I'm going to be doing some really bad test shots later with just shooting something from around the house because I don't have any subjects to shoot until Sunday. And we'll really get to take this lens for a spin. I'll probably do another reaction video once I've had a chance to do some significant amount of shooting with it, and maybe have some reactions to like autofocus speed, or show some sample images with the camera, because I know that's what people always want to see anyway. So, but packaging is okay. I've seen way better packaging than this before, frankly. But yeah, nice looking lens. It's pretty basic, pretty straightforward, pretty clean in its design. I think it's also going to be interesting for me to see, like, again, my muscle memory is kind of around my Fuji system, and you know, thinking about having to maybe just do things a little bit differently. For what I understand, you might be able to make this an aperture ring, but it seems kind of loose and like something that would be, it's not click, it's declicked, which I kind of don't like, to be honest with you. But aperture will probably be the front dial on my Nikon anyway, as opposed to on the lens. So that's going to be something to get used to, because I am used to having, in my Fuji system, having an aperture ring. It's clicked. Almost all my lenses are clicked and have that nice, tangible, audible kind of click when you change apertures. So I have a feeling on this lens, this bottom ring is going to do nothing for me. It's going to be basically turned off and not used. It is interesting, and I don't know how much this matters these days, but the lens is designed and, from what I understand, manufactured in Japan. And we know Japan makes a very high quality product, but especially camera lenses. I did get a UV filter for this lens, so I'll throw that on here a little bit. Pretty good weight though, but it's not like over the top. I mean, for what it is, for a 28 to 75, it's pretty lightweight, which is good because the Z8 is definitely beefy. But I don't think it'll be overwhelming. The other big difference that I understand from the F lenses to the Z lenses, and in particular this lens, is that on the old F lenses, a lot of the weight of the lens elements is on the front of the lens. And so your camera tends to want to kind of dip forward when you're carrying it, because all the weight on the front of that lens. And that extra strain on your wrists, as well as just your overall body, can be a thing over a period of time. But you can definitely feel it when you hold this lens. There's definitely a lot of weight back here on the back end of it, which kind of keeps it central to where the rest of that weight is, and where you've got a lot of support with your hands on your camera. So I think that's probably a good thing. I do see there's a button on here as well on the side of the Tamron lens. I have no idea what that button does. From what I understand, it's probably programmable. Maybe it's a locking mechanism of some sort for focal length, or locking the focus. We'll find out when I dig into it. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about this being my first lens. Again, there was a lot of back and forth on which lens, and a lot of watching of reviews of every lens in the Nikon system, basically, trying to figure out which was the best choice for me. And at least from the unboxing, I think this is probably I made the right choice. but we'll know for sure when we get a chance to really do some hardcore shooting with it, which I will be putting this lens through a lot of shooting over the next week and a half, as I will be in Florida and doing touristy things, baseball, photo shoots, etc. And so this lens is going to be on the camera 99% of the time, 95% of the time, and should go to a big workout. So with that, we'll just end with the little sugar on top, which is the FTZ2 adapter. Say that slow. And really, the big reason I bought this adapter was really because I do have two Nikon lenses currently, and those are lenses that I shot with my my D700. I still have both lenses, still have the D700, but I have the 50mm f1.4. I also have the 85mm f1.8. Those are f lenses. So I can actually take this adapter now and put it on my Z8 and adapt those lenses. So basically, you know, even though I bought two lenses for the kind of kickoff of my exploration of the Nikon Z system, I actually get two bonus lenses by having those, and I'll have some primes because it is nice to shoot with primes sometimes. So, you know, my 50mm is pretty small. I should have had it here so I could have shown it, but at some point I'm sure I'll probably show it on the camera. This adapter almost doubles the size of that lens, but it makes it usable. So I guess that's what the sacrifice you make. I don't know if I'll take this to Florida with me or not. I might take the 50 in this, but it really just depends on how much I can fit in the camera bag. I tend to overpack when it comes to camera gear. I'm trying to get better at that. So I'm trying to not take too much, and walking through the airports with all the extra weight and stuff like that is not something I'm looking forward to. So this may end up staying home, and I might have to play with it a little bit at the events I shoot when I get back here to Pittsburgh. But still nice to have and a nice accessory. And I actually got this as part of the bundle that I selected when I got my Z8. So that's it. Quick unboxing here of the Tamron. Actually went a little longer than I thought it was going to, but hopefully found some insights there that were valuable to you as you're trying to decide on gear. I'm not going to do a ton of gear talks on this channel, but since I just got some, figured I might as well go ahead. But not going to obviously get into a lot of specs on all this stuff. It's more about the shooting experience, and for me, the decision making of why I decided to go with certain gear that I thought might be valuable to some of you. So leave a comment down below if you have any thoughts about this Tamron, if you have any questions about it, if you got it yourself, or if you have any other recommendations, I guess, of lenses that I should consider in the near future. So thanks again for stopping by. Appreciate the likes, the comments, the subscribers, and a lot more content to come. Thanks. Have a great day.